Hare Krishna, Sanchari. Welcome. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Japtaka Swamiti Namane Acharya Padaya Nitaya Pradayane Gorakata Damadaya Nagara Gramadharane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukha Karoti Vachalam Panguram Gayate Grim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurunitinathariणam Paramanandamatam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol Vishnu Priya.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our Vaishnavi Sangha. It is wonderful to have a Vaishnavi like Vishnu Priya who's going to keep us on track if we get lost. Okay, we're studying Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter. Last week, we got into Arjuna getting into a different mood, and Arjuna is continuing. What was that? Yeah, last verse was Arjuna, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So Arjuna was saying, "Oh Janardana, oh Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? What are you talking about? I'm confused." So yeah, Bhagavad Gita sometimes can seem like apparently contradictory instructions. On one side, Krishna is saying, karma, and there is a yoga, and come on, why do you want to be rude? You have to be kind. You have to do, nice things in life. And then he is telling him, go kill your grandfather, go kill your guru, go kill your relatives. It's like Arjuna is confused right now. And that happens to us in our life. Sometimes we are told so many principles in life we must follow, the values and dignity and self-esteem and whatnot. Don't crawl before anybody else but God. And, we are taught. And then on the other side, we're also taught other things. So it can be very confusing. Am I supposed to draw boundaries or I'm supposed to tolerate? Which one of the two am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to forgive in this situation or am I supposed to have self-respect? I'm confused. So that's Arjuna's situation here. So he's saying my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. Right? I mean, some of us will be thinking we're having some relational crisis and we're thinking, should I go and punch my mother-in-law in the face? Sorry, I don't mean your mother-in-law. Anyway, or if we are thinking, am I supposed to tolerate? So, these are the dilemmas that can be. I'm not saying any of you have mother-in-law who are difficult. I'm just picking up random thing. Now, let's read this purport. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, can I have somebody read it, please? A volunteer to participate and do service.
I can read it.
Sandhya, please.
Go on. It's fine. You read it.
Okay, sorry. The purport? Just the purport?
Yeah.
Okay. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruit of desire, and the position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna, therefore, wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, He is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita.
By his questions, he's clearing the path of Krishna consciousness. That's the point. Okay. Okay, that's Krishna, but let's kind of stick to Arjuna today. Because I want to go explore a little bit more of the dilemmas and how that relates to our life and how we can connect Arjuna's dilemmas in our situation. I'll share the screen back later. But first of all, this personality, Dhananjaya, Savyasachi, I mean, he has these amazing names. He had conquered demigods and he had such superpowers. But that is nothing in front of him associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, physical proximity with Krishna, lying down on the same couch, walking with him, having prasadam together, and no, like Jesus also, when he walked, there were so many disciples who were constantly in physical connection with him. Srila Prabhupada, when he was there, so many disciples, they were always around Srila Prabhupada, serving Srila Prabhupada, traveling with Srila Prabhupada. So we can think of many of these examples. So Arjuna was in that position of such great fortune to be so close to Krishna. And we are talking about, when we are discussing all this, Arjuna and Krishna are about what, like 100 years old. I mean, they're not like 20-year old. They've lived very long, and they went on the exile, and they are like, I think they're 100-year-old if I'm not mistaken, but they're like really old because back then it's not like they were living only 100 years. So they are, I think they were 100 years, as I remember, something like that.
So
maybe I should
back
check.
then they were living
Let me just
for
check.
1,000 years, right? So 100 years would be like 10-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that, and my husband just entered the room in the right time. I asked him, is it true that they were 100 years old? Okay. It's like he came just to answer this question. So, yes, they were 100 years old. Sorry, Deepa, I didn't hear what you were saying because I was busy asking the question.
No, I said men live till 1,000 then, right?
Oh, yeah, in that sense. Yeah,
so if it's 100, it's like a 10-year-old. But I guess a 10-year-old then was quite different.
Yeah, the calculation is different because this is in the end of Dwapara Yuga, it was the beginning of Kali Yuga. So people's longevity was different. But the point I'm trying to make is they were 100-year-old. I mean, best friends forever, okay? Best friends forever, 100-year-old men standing in the battlefield. And guess what? Arjuna didn't know Krishna. Arjuna had no idea what Krishna was talking about, right? He couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure out what actually Krishna wanted him to do. So what I'm trying to say is, the first point I'm trying to make here is, we could be devotees for 100 years and we could still not understand what it means to be a devotee. We could still not understand what actually Prabhupada means. So it is, Krishna consciousness is not a process like, okay, you go to the university and you memorize certain things and you do research about a specific existing thing, and then we write a thesis and we get a certificate and we are doctors. The doctor just enters the room, by the way, right now. Welcome, Dr. Krishna. So as our doctor just entered, we are discussing about how understanding Krishna consciousness is not as easy as getting like a piece of certificate from a modern educational organization, which qualifies as you have understood what is Krishna's will for you. It's not so easy. And the second point is, Arjuna in the first chapter went on lamenting, and he went on brooding, and there's another word I wanted to use, lamenting, brooding, ruminating over how are these people gonna feel? How is my guru gonna feel? How Bhishma will feel? How all the soldiers' families will feel, and what will happen? And he started thinking about every other thing except his own business. He was constantly thinking how they're going to feel, how these people are going to feel. So in the third chapter, that is kind of coming to the surface, that because he was so absorbed and concerned about so many other people's feelings, he didn't get this simple principle, right? Besides that, he was unable to understand exactly what Krishna wanted. Who is Krishna? What is Krishna's thinking? How does he think? It wasn't clear to him. And so it doesn't mean that being a devotee for a long, many years, or reading scriptures, or having Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta does not necessarily make us deeply wise and qualified to understand Krishna's will. Understanding Krishna's will is not an easy thing. Okay. And the other point connected to not understanding, it's not easy to understand Krishna's will, but it's also the point, when I'm just using I word here, keeping Arjuna as a reference, when I am confused about my sense of priorities, and I'm giving too much importance to other people and their feelings, and etc., it becomes hard for me to act according to God's will. So that was kind of happening to Arjuna. It was becoming hard for him. What we call in modern terms is codependency. So Arjuna was going through this typical condition of being a codependent. He was not able to separate his feelings from the feelings of other people involved. And so the lesson we learn later is that you take care of your feelings, let the other person take care of their feelings. We don't have to fix other people's feelings. That's essentially the point of Krishna. Don't focus on fixing other people's feelings. Don't work on making other people feel good, but focus on, let's focus. Like Krishna was with Arjuna. He didn't just abandon him and say, I don't care about your feelings either. No, feelings are important, but to separate my feelings from others. And the third point, and the most important point, is live your life. Live your life. Don't wait for problems to be solved. Don't wait for somebody else to change, somebody else to understand, or you. Why Arjuna was so confused, so weak, so bewildered, so he has lost the strength, because he wasn't living his life. He was literally, the Gandhi was slipped out of his hand because he was unable to function as Arjuna, who he was supposed to. So in our lives also, sometimes we get so absorbed into, I have this particular problem, and until that solves, I cannot live my life. For women, it's usually relationships. Our partners, or our situation with relationship is not as we would like it to be, and it doesn't make me feel comfortable. So we kind of cut so many areas of our life, and we're not living our life, and we're expecting that relationship is going to fix us. And once I have the relationship, then I'll live my life. And for men, it's usually like money. They think that once I have money, then I'll start living my life. But you don't need money to live your life. And similarly, we don't need relationships too. So in Arjuna's case, it was like a dilemma, both with relationship and with his sense of status and sense of dynasty. All those things were becoming a priority for him. Okay, let's go back to the verse where Prabhupada is speaking about Krishna. Okay, I found it very interesting that Prabhupada is saying that this was all presented unsystematically. It's very unusual. Prabhupada says like that Krishna is this was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. So Krishna is going to help Arjuna. He just gave like a brief summary, which again, to prove that understanding these things and understanding Krishna's will cannot be done just by mere sense of intelligence. And yeah, that's here. Maybe we'll go to the next verse to get a little bit picture of how Krishna starts speaking. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Vividha Nishta Pura prokta mayanaga jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I've already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. Okay. Yeah, anybody would like to read the purport till here? Yeah.
Okay, I'll read.
Thank you, Deepa.
In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Shankara Yoga and Karma Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness. As it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter, the Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process.
Mhm.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. We can actually read the next part also.
Oh, okay. Unless somebody else wants to read.
Yeah, if anybody would like to read, please go ahead. I can unmute and just read it.
Okay, I'll read. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily.
Mm.
Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position, the self, in relation to the super self.
Mm.
The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process.
Mm.
Krishna consciousness itself, the purifying process. And by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Deepa. Yeah, so that, the one I have highlighted, the same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that is, Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme Lord. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. This is a very important principle for us, that it's not by our own strength that we can advance in spiritual life. We're going through Kartik month, Damodar month, and we know that there are these two fingers short, right? Mother Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna, and there were always two fingers short. And so those two fingers represents mercy and effort. So no matter how much effort we put without mercy, and no matter how much mercy is there, but if we don't hold our hands, cup our hands and receive that mercy, then we're not going to get it. And so it's kind of similar. I was thinking with what Prabhupada is saying. Philosophy without religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is sentiment. Is similar to these two principles of effort and mercy. Like religion is like kind of religion without philosophy is sentiment. Philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So you see, these two also go hand in hand. It's similar to mercy without effort and effort without mercy. So it's like it's an interdependent concept. What's the relevance of this point about religion and philosophy for us? I mean, many of us, right? Many of us come from, some of us, actually, I mean, most of us actually, 1, 2, 3, Ananga, Gopishwari, I don't know what's your background, but many of us come from Indian background, where religious families, where a lot of rituals, and when you ask your parents, why are you doing this? Because I'm telling you to do it. There is not so much of a philosophical basis to why we do certain rituals, and why you have to tie this particular thing here and turn around in this particular way and put this specific lamp on this specific place. And, there's all these rituals based on religious beliefs. And when you ask questions, you usually get the answer, because I'm telling so, don't ask all these questions. You're supposed to do it. And there was a lot of blind faith. There was this famous story, right? There was a cat running around in the wedding ceremony, and they caught the cat and put it in the basket. And so the little girl saw that, oh, at a wedding there was this little cat, and they put the cat under the basket. So when she got married, she didn't have a cat, but she was putting so much effort to go and find a cat so she could put it under the basket. Otherwise, how could she get married? Like, you have to have a cat, and the cat has to be under the basket. Only then I can get married. So this is a problem with us being, you're supposed to do this, and you're not supposed to do this, and you're supposed to whatever it is, chant your rounds, you're supposed to go to the temple, you're supposed to read this particular book. But if we don't understand the purpose, then it becomes just like a sentiment, not mental speculation, it's sentiment. There was another story. This story I wrote in one of my books, actually. It's about remedies. Kumbh Mela. There was this Kumbh Mela festival, and there was a mother and son traveling in the train, and they arrive in the place, and the boy really needs to go to the bathroom. He needs to pass stool. So the mother takes him. It's still very early in the morning, 4:35 a.m. So there's no sadhus or nobody walking really. So she takes him a little bit in the side, and he does his business. And then the mother says, it's really smelling bad. So I need to do something about it. So she covers it with some mud, and then she makes it like a little hill. And then she says, it's still stinking, I need to do something. All these sadhus are here. It's not respectful to leave the place dirty like this. So then she finds a garland somewhere around, which is a fragrant garland. So she brings that garland and puts it around this little hill-like thing. And then she says, it's still not really. And then she finds some incense. So then she says, this should solve the purpose. So she brings the incense, she puts it around that hill. And then she says, okay, now my business is done. The place is not smelling bad. So the mother and the son go And then pilgrims start coming, and then different people come and they say, oh, there's something here with the garland and the incense, and there's like must be something worshipable. So they come and they bring fruits and then bring more incense, and then they bring lamps and keep there. Basically, the place becomes very popular because more and more people are walking by and they see that there's this exuberant worship going on in this place. It must be something extraordinary. Then the whole worship becomes, and then there's a very rich man who passes by and he sees that this is a really popular place. A lot of people come and give their offerings. So he actually builds a temple. He builds a big temple on it so people can benefit more. So yeah, this can become our situation, if we do things without thinking, what are we actually getting into? So it's a good question that Arjuna has. Excuse me, Krishna, you said this, I'm confused, Am I supposed to do this, or am I supposed to follow tradition, or am I supposed to think, what am I supposed to do? And then the other side of it is also dangerous, to only use philosophy, like speculation of philosophy, and go into some conclusions such as impersonalism, or thinking I am God and I'm the controller, and you are, all these modern day affirmations are very much about that. You are powerful, you are confident, you can do this, you can do that. But no. So what I want to do is, before I take questions, I really want you to all relax yourselves and get yourself in a comfortable position. And I have prepared like a little meditation, like a prayer that I will read out. Okay. Okay, if you like, you can close your eyes.
Playlist view, classical view on Amazon Music.
So take a relaxing breath. Tell yourself, I am a precious child of God. And let go of any of your worries or concerns that's bothering you. Trust in the presence of Krishna. Let go and let Govinda. Sometimes we want something in our life, and it's not what actually we need. And so Krishna's answer to our prayers is not an yes, it's a no. Or not a right now. But we need to remember that Krishna always has deep answers. You may not understand why Krishna is saying no to us at this point. Or why is he saying not now? Let's think about something we've been asking Krishna for a while. Let's keep asking. But more than asking, let's also listen. Let's listen to what is Krishna's answer. By praying and keeping in touch with Krishna, we may come to understand Krishna much better every day. And we can practice this. We can practice listening to Krishna's voice through the Gita, through the japa, through connecting with him through bhajans. And as we spend more and more time meditating in a mindful manner, we can also center our heart and pray. We can say, Dear Krishna, thank you for listening to my prayers. And thank you for providing for all of my needs. Teach me to trust you, even when I don't understand the way you answer. And even when you seem to be silent or distant, I know that you will never leave me or forsake me. Please help me to see what I'm not seeing. Please open my eyes to the ways you're working that I might be blind to. Slow your breathing down. And as you're breathing in, remember that Krishna is nearer to you than your own breath. And as you breathe out, release any worries that are distracting you. Krishna actually knows everything about you. But even though he already knows what you've done, what you're thinking, what your needs are, he still likes to hear from you. And Krishna has the capacity to forgive us, and he does not have the capacity to reject us. Nothing you could do ever can separate you from his great love. And so Krishna hears your call even before you call him, and he answers the prayers even before we pray. So let us trust Krishna that he never changes his love and his shelter is never lost. You know, these two best friends forever people you may have watched, they seem to anticipate what other is going to do or say before they do it. But Krishna knows you even better than that. He knows exactly what you need, when you need, and how you need it. Not only that, he's also always willing to listen to you. So let's take a moment and end this meditation with a prayer. Dear Krishna, I am now willing to listen to you. Please hear my prayers. You've provided for all of my needs. Help me to not grow weary in prayer. Let me not lose hope. Please help me to be patient and hopeful. Please help me to remember and to believe with my whole heart that you are who you say you are. Aham bija pradapita. You've been faithful. You have been the best friend, best father, and I pray for deep faith in you, my Lord. Hare Krishna. All right. So that's a meditation to remind us that we need to ask questions. We need to approach Krishna, but we also need to be ready to hear and see what is it that Krishna wants for us. Yeah, I just wrote this meditation. I also made an audio of it. I'll be uploading it on the YouTube that we can just use it because I like to, these are like realizations that I like to hear again and again. So I put music in the background and I made I'll send the link in the WhatsApp group. Okay, any questions, realizations, comments, any hearts?
Hare Krishna. You know, you said that the third point is live your life, and where Krishna is saying to Arjuna, now you need to be selfish, isn't he? He's basically saying you have to stop thinking about others here, and you have to think about yourself.
No, he's not saying think about yourself. He's saying do what I want or do God's will, achieve the higher purpose.
No, but for Arjuna to do that, he needed to be, you know, the time when you were saying that, like, stop thinking about other people. All right, Arjuna does what Krishna wants, but for that to happen, Arjuna needs to be self-centered, if not selfish.
Well, see, in Sanskrit, swa-artha means to do things that are meaningful for you, meaningful for others, meaningful for a higher purpose. The actual meaning of, in Sanskrit, swa-artha, it's actually not the way we usually say in the modern context. In the modern context, the word selfish or self-centered means that you put yourself in the center and you don't give I think of a bad word here. I'm not saying you don't give a damn about others. You know, you just want what you want. We are not talking about that kind of selfishness. In Arjuna's case, he doesn't want to fight this battle. You understand? he was extremely selfish when he said, I'm going to go to the forest. I'm going to retire. I don't want to kill my grandfather. I don't want to kill my teacher. I don't want to kill my cousins. I won't have anybody to show off when they're all dead and gone. That was Arjuna's problem. So his problem was very selfish consideration. Okay, so Krishna is teaching him that you need to think beyond your feelings, your emotions. See, like I was saying in the beginning, I need to separate my feelings from other people's feelings. Sometimes we mix, right? Oh, how will they feel? And then we do things because we don't want others to feel bad. Or some other times, some people are so like selfish, you can say. They don't care about other people's feeling. They do what feels good to me. But here Krishna is emphasizing, no, neither of that is going to actually benefit you. But acting according to God's will is what is going to benefit you. Listening to what Krishna wants me to do is what is going to benefit me. Not doing whatever I want, not doing what my neighbor wants, not doing what my whoever wants. It's not about me being the good wife, me being the good daughter, me being the good whatever. It's about me pleasing Krishna. Sometimes we become too stuck on our material duties that we forget the purpose of it. And Bhagavatam says, it's Shrama eva hi kevalam, samsiddhir haritoshana. If the end result of you performing whatever duty it is, as a wife, as a daughter, as a devotee, as a job, whatever it is, if the ultimate goal is it doesn't evoke Krishna conscious feelings in your heart, it doesn't evoke connection to Krishna, it's a waste. And neither of this evokes devotion. Not doing what others want and not doing what I want. The thing that evokes devotion in me is only when I act according to Krishna's will. And Krishna's will, as I said, it's not easy to understand. What did Krishna want? Some people say, oh, he's such a war-mongering God. He wanted war. No, Krishna didn't want war as such. But he had some purpose, which was a higher purpose. And we don't see it because we are blinded. We don't see across what's around the corner. So that's why prayers, that's why meditation, that's why we go humbly in front of Krishna and say, Krishna, I don't know what is your will for me. I don't want self-will. I want your will to be done. So it's not that Arjuna is recommended to go into selfish mode in the mode of passion. He was in the selfish mode in the mode of ignorance. He was selfish, saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. How can I do this? How can I kill how this thing was going to happen? He was lamenting about so many things in the mode of ignorance. Then Krishna came and then he's starting to think in the mode of passion again, right? Because his feelings are still there. Like right now in the 3rd chapter, Krishna has moved Arjuna from tamas to rajas. He was in tamas. Now slowly Arjuna is coming to rajasic mood, okay? He's asking all the questions and the depression mode is gone. Arjuna has moved from depression. Depression is in the mode of ignorance. But then sometimes when we move out of depression, we may get into passion. We may get angry or we may get activated, But that's also not the solution. The solution is to be in sattva. And sattva means, what is Krishna's will for me? To become willing to act according to Krishna's will, to be an instrument in his hand. And it'll happen as Arjuna will speak. Krishna doesn't force us. He's given us free will. We're not forced. But it's a privilege. It's a great honor. It's a great fortune to be able to act according to Krishna's will and be an instrument in his hand. And we cannot do that by being codependent, which means depending on other people's happiness for us to be happy. And we also cannot achieve that by being narcissistic or self-centered, thinking me, mine, my feelings, me, and my feelings, me. And that is also not going to get us. No. Only one thing that can help us cross over this bhava sagara, this ocean of birth and death, this ocean of misery, is the willingness to do Krishna's will. The willingness to act according to God's will. Then we gain peace. And peace, in Arjuna's case, is like the peace which comes with killing millions of people. And in our case, we don't know. Sometimes we may be going through relational difficulty, and people may tell us, oh, this relationship is not for you. You deserve something better. Don't be with this person. And but we may not really want to do that. And in both cases, it may be either passion or ignorance. Because in passion, we just want to drop a relationship because of issues and hardships, and then oh yeah, I deserve something better. That's kind of in the mode of passion. And in tamas is to think, oh, I don't deserve something better. This is all I can. Nobody else will be with me anyway. I'm just useless. That's all. That's in the mode of tamas, to tolerate a situation. But in the mode of goodness, or in the mode of Shuddha Sattva, in the mode of Krishna consciousness, we say, Krishna, what is your will for me? What is your lesson for me? What is it that I need to learn? What is it that you would like me to do? And so it doesn't matter the details. Whether it's a relationship that you're unable to move out of it or tolerate it, you're finding both difficult, Krishna is the solution. It's not listening to other people. It's not you going into depression. It's not you going into passion, or any of these situations. I mean, this is one example.
So for this, you really need to know Krishna's will, isn't it? That's the hard part, isn't it? I'm always constantly thinking, well, is that me or is that Krishna? And I struggle a lot with it these days.
Yeah, that's why in that prayer, in the meditation prayer, I wrote saying, give me that patience. Let me not lose hope, because sometimes we want something so bad. And Krishna is like, no, you're not ready. No, if I give it to you now, you're going to break it. Not now, not yet, not now. Krishna does that sometimes. Like, oh, why not? Or we're given something we think we're not ready for. Why this difficulty now, Krishna? This is the time I need to focus on my Krishna consciousness. This is the time I need to recover. I need to do. But why at this time you're giving me difficulty? I'm having so much trouble. Why are you giving this? But he knows the right timing. He knows when to strengthen us. And like when astrologically, Jupiter and Saturn, if anybody has that effects going on, like Jupiter is considered to be generally a very good planet. Like he gives wealth, he gives relationships. He's like a good planet. And Saturn is usually considered to be a planet of austerity and difficulty and patience and resilience and all that. But usually what happens for people who have these two planets, conjunction aspects, etc., in Jupiter period, they actually go through a lot of difficulties, a lot of struggles. And when Saturn comes, they actually are given gifts. Why? Because it's the time of purification. It's the time that you are strengthened, you are healed. That's the right word. Sometimes we are, let's say we are going through a family situation which is very difficult. All your family members are being difficult and you're feeling alone, you're feeling lost, you don't know what to do, you're not unable to do sadhana properly because there's no support. Okay, let's say that example. In that situation, you may say, like, why now? I wanted to advance spiritually. I was having a good spiritual life. And now why all these obstacles are coming? I was enjoying making services for deities and cooking or whatever it is. And you may ask why this is happening now. And if we look deeper and we don't know Krishna's plan, we don't know karma, but it is that purification, the healing. Maybe there is a healing of pride. Maybe there is a healing of, sometimes we may have that pride, or we may have that overconfidence, or we may have a sense of controllership, doership. We may have oh, I'm likable, I can make everybody like me. And then Krishna puts us in a situation and we realize, actually, no, it's very difficult for me. So it's a period of healing from certain myths about ourselves, certain misconceptions about ourselves. So then when Saturn comes, he rewards us because we've done the healing work. We've gone through that tough part by healing ourselves, by giving up those things which were not useful. So actual swartha, actual selfishness in the sattva guna means giving up all bad habits and all patterns and tendencies and all kinds of addiction, which is not serving my purpose to reconnect with Krishna. That's real selfishness at its best. Does it make sense what I'm saying about selfishness?
Yeah, that's very useful. Yes, it does make sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Very useful.
Yeah, selfish means what is the best thing for me in this situation? What is beneficial? Is worrying beneficial? Is depressing beneficial? Is blaming beneficial? Is feeling victim beneficial? No, then I'm not doing it. That's real good selfish thing. Is blaming others going to benefit me? So doing what is really beneficial for me. So Arjuna is at that point of realizing, okay, I don't want to remain in tamas anymore, but he has all these questions, right? Because his mind is so covered with that sense of, call it ego, because he wanted things in a certain way. It's not exactly happening that way. And so Krishna is going to explain how all the things come together. And sometimes we may ask why I need to understand Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga and all these things. Why do I even need all that? Because it's essential to see, if we want to understand Krishna, sometimes we need to know how Krishna works. If we want Krishna as a friend, we understand how a friend works, how he thinks, right? And so we understand how Krishna makes this material nature work, how he makes the mind work, how he makes the senses. But because he's the controller, we are not. He's the controller. So the real selfishness is to give, to let control to Krishna, because that's the only way we can be in control. Every time I'm trying to be in control and not giving control to Krishna, I'm totally unmanageable. Everything about my life is falling apart. But when I give the chariot, what do you say, the reins to Krishna and say, Krishna, please take care, then I'm in control. You see what I mean? And that's why Krishna gets controlled by gopis and Srimati Radharani, because of their surrender, because they have that ability to give completely their everything to Krishna. And so Krishna is controlled by them. And the only way to know Krishna's will, again, is not by knowledge. It's by that sense of willingness to surrender, that's willingness to embrace, because he's always there for us. He's always waiting at the door. He wants us to have that connection, that interaction, that he wants us to tell him everything. Although he knows everything, he likes us to be honest for our own benefit, you see, for our swartha.
He wants the relationship, doesn't he? So that exchange has to be there.
He's a lovesick boy. He wants our love. And we are finding supplements in this world. Okay?
Supplements.
Sanchar, you have any question?
No, what you said is actually what happened to me in the past 3 days. I really wanted to share it if it's okay. I've been always so scared of living alone, and it has been a big panic for me, okay? But you know, the past week was very difficult, and I kept praying to Giriraj. And for the first time in my life, I'm staying alone, and I'm so satisfied. You know, I was thinking of calling you today, but then my daughter got cold. So and it's like Krishna knew I needed this break. I'm really relishing this freedom, you know, this free space where I have nobody to nag me. I have nobody to tell me I'm doing something wrong. And I'm feeling so, you know, I could sleep so nicely last night after ages. And you know, it was only because 1 minute. It was only because I kept praying to Lord Giriraj in my heart that I only want to take your shelter. I only want to take your shelter. And throughout the day, I've been chanting Giriraj Pranam Mantra that much that my daughter has learned by heart in 3 days.
That's amazing. That's good. You see, that's a very good example and very good use of the time, because see, right now you're being given the reward, but in this reward time, you could completely take advantage of the lessons. Probably a lesson for you was to value that privacy, to value that sense of isolation. Maybe in your previous lives or in your previous years, you didn't value it. Maybe you are always looking for friends, you are always wanting to be with people. So you didn't value enough what you're craving. And so Krishna is like, now when you get it, you're like, yes. So that's some lesson to learn, that okay, in isolation, I can be happy. So, Krishna has his way to teach us to value something. That's beautiful. And chanting stotras and investing in that is very clever, because no, it's a temporary relief, but the Giriraj stotras and taking shelter, that's what is going to give you pay back, or what do you call it? Give you the interest, right?
No, it was really amazing that I could, I'm feeling like a bird, I've just got my wings back, and I'm able to,
Beautiful.
since last night I was awake until 3, because I just was not feeling sleepy, and I kept reading, which I've not done in ages. And today I'm feeling so grateful that Krishna forced me to live alone, and I'm relishing it.
That's also nice about reading. Maybe reading was another lesson that you needed to value more or something. Yeah, like this, we can see. I was just today, I was writing something about when we know our anarthas, when we understand my weakness, it becomes easier to take shelter and go and tell Krishna, Krishna, I have these weaknesses. I need, when we are aware, I don't value reading enough, or I don't value whatever. And then Krishna arranges a situation where we can't do it. Then I realize, oh my God, I was really losing out on that. So it's important for us to recognize our character defects and where we are weak. Then we can ask Krishna to strengthen it in a joyful way, like you're getting the opportunity right now. In a joyful way, he's making you read and chant. Yes, Khushbu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for today's lecture. I just love it, and especially the meditation and prayer. It's really, really very relaxing. So I just want you to please share it with us on WhatsApp and all that. I just really like it. And one thing, you just tell me that whether I just get it in the right sense or not, is because I was sometimes very much confused about being compassionate and compassion, being loving towards others. But what today I learned is that there should be a boundary, that until this moment you have to care about others' feeling. Because what I realize is sometimes we care so much about others' person feeling that we think that we care about others' feelings, but I feel that in that way somehow we are interfering with Krishna's plan for that person. So I think which I learned today, that it's very important that we should consider about our feelings and also being loving and compassionate toward others, because they are doing what Krishna has planned for them. It's nothing about them. Even they criticize us or whatever they do with us. And I think one thing which I really love in today's lecture is about meditation and prayer. And I want to thank you, because I think initially we don't know how to pray, but as you taught us in various sessions about how to pray and the words and the lines, so I used that lines and pray, and I realized the more you meditate, the more you pray, that whatever the other person had done with you, it slowly your heart become clean. Krishna removed all that pain and hatredness from your heart, and again the compassion and love flows inside you, even though you can't help that person, and but you feel still loving and compassionate towards that person, because you know that there's a point that now you're interfering with Krishna's plan, what the Krishna has planned for that person, and you are not the controllers of others person's life. So again, you just pointed out today, so I just thank you, because this is what I learned. I hope that whatever I learned is correct, or if there is anything you want me to change, so I just really appreciate to listen it.
Thank you, Dr. Khushbu. That was perfect. It's beautifully summarized what I was trying to convey as well. We are not in control, and sometimes we are just in the way. We're just in the way for Krishna to act in somebody's life, and we can only pray. And when we pray, Krishna does arrange a situation. Like, for example, let's say I'm supposed to go and see somebody, and I've booked a train ticket. But if Krishna doesn't want that, it's not going to happen. Mare Krishna Rakhe Krishna Mareke. Something will happen to the train. I may get sick. The person who is supposed to come don't come for the meeting. You understand? So now, how do I understand? Every minute we need to be in that mood of humility. I'm not in control. I'll do my duty. It's up to Krishna. And to not hang on to future and not to try to control anybody or anybody's decision, no matter how difficult they may be in, how difficult situation they may be in. I'm going through it. One of my students, very, very difficult situation, completely gone rogue situation. And it's being difficult. But I can only pray. I need to have boundaries. I cannot just put up with nonsense. At the same time, I cannot abandon. So I have to be because I'm nobody to cut off. You understand? And I'm nobody to control. So I have to be in a humble position to say, Krishna, what is your will? What would you like me to do? What is my lesson here? And please help that person to learn their lesson joyfully. And I just wait patiently. So yeah, absolutely. You got it right. Thank you.
1 minute. Can you just share with us what is humility? Because sometimes it's so confusing but I just want to know that what is humility?
Yeah. So I just wrote a post yesterday. So I'm just going to read what I wrote. Humiliation versus humility. Okay. This is something I wrote yesterday. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Okay, I'll repeat that. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking yourself less. It's thinking of yourself less. So it's not about me thinking I'm useless, I'm nothing, I'm insignificant. That's not humility. It's just that you don't think much about yourself. You think about Krishna, you think about doing your duties, you're not thinking all the time about yourself. There are people who go on saying, oh, I'm not so good, I'm this, and they may think it's humility, but it's not. And then, because these two words are very close, but they mean completely different things. Because like, for example, okay, the other side of it, humiliation is an intense shame one feels for their immoral behaviors. There's like the sense of guilt and shame deeply. That's humiliation. It's the lifestyle at the bottom where desperate souls grieve. Humiliation is also used as a weapon by self-righteous people that pat themselves on the back and condemn others. They use humiliation to lift oneself up while putting others down. Okay? Humility is entirely different. It begins by having a modest view of one's importance. Modest view. What is that modest view? In connection to Krishna. Modest view of ourselves in the mode of humility is we connect our existence, our identity with Krishna. Unlike humiliation, one is free from the past. It is knowing one's strengths and weaknesses. So humility is not just thinking only about our negativity. Humility means you know both your strength and your weakness, and you have no problem in accepting your weaknesses. You don't deny it. At the same time, you're also not downplaying your strengths, but you know what your strengths are. And I am humble in front of God. I'm not the controller. Nothing is in my hands. And at the same time, we're not like rotting inside, always thinking I'm a worm in the stool, I'm nothing, good for nothing. That's not humility. By knowing yourself, you can ask Krishna for help in specific areas and develop your strengths. And also ask help for weaknesses. You also gain strength by not giving into your weaknesses. Okay? So it's not about, when it's the opposite of humility, you're empowering your weakness. You are empowering shame and guilt and victimization, and we think that's humility, but it's not. to not give in to weakness is humility. To not wait for somebody else to praise me is humility. To not depend on my husband to make me feel good is humility. This is the emotional benefit of healthy recovery. It brings strength, peace, and security. And this only happens after honest self-analysis. And it can take some time to acquire. But we need right people and mercy of God. So this is something about humility. Does it help, Khushbu?
Yes, yes. It's so wonderful. And I really understood now. Thank you so much for this. It's a very wonderful explanation. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, if we don't have anything else, we can close the meeting here. Anything? Any quick thoughts? Any burning desire to share something?